Well, Emily, we are on the verge of boot season, and this is like what we dream of, to be cozy, to be warm, and to design our boots to invoke that cozy, that sense of home, that sense of adventure at the same time. And I'm hoping that we can talk about three different boots. Let's start with Allie,
Mm.
which has so much to offer. Um, let's start with like the color choice, the materials that are used to make this product, and then to share why she exists.
Well, I think one of the most exciting things about Allie is how incredibly functional she is. So she is fun and full of pizzazz and dressy and but you'd never guess it looking at her, but she is vegan and machine washable. So really high performance. We know how hard kids can play sometimes. The material also has a really high abrasion resistance. So it's really perfect for playing in fall weather where you might be in a little bit more mud and a little bit more dirt. It's raining and it's getting colder. It also is incredibly soft on the inside. We added just a little layer of foam in between the lining and the upper. So if you feel inside Mitzi, you'll feel that it's really padded and soft in there.
Yeah, it is. It's nice and padded. And the liner is also recycled, right?
Yes, yes, it's made using a recycled mesh lining. So that mesh lining helps keep in some breathability while the foam adds that soft comfort. And then, like I said, the upper material is vegan and machine washable. I also really
It's
love, oh, sorry,
washed with cold, right?
wash with
Just
cold
it
water. Yes,
has to be washed with cold.
all of our shoes are machine washable in cold water. And then air dry. It's very important to not throw them in the dryer. Um, the other thing that I love about the material on Allie is it's this really beautiful, dusty, vintage pink. It's got just a little bit of that pinkish undertone to it, and the top line paint and the elastic gore really kind of help pull that pink undertone out. But it's also got this really cool vintage cracked washed finish, and so that helps tone down the metallic a little bit. So it's not over the top metallic. It's just enough to add a little bit of pizzazz. Those pink undertones, I think, too, um, really they're just fun. They're playful, and they warm it up. So it's gonna be great with all your camels and browns, deep kind of rich pomegranate colors this season.
Yeah, yeah, I know it really is a subtle, it's got that subtle shimmer,
Mhm.
and the undertones allow it to be so neutral. So yeah, I love the idea of wearing this with pomegranates, taupes, browns, um, all shades of you know blues. I mean, it's just a very neutral, fun, very practical colorway and very practical silhouette. You can dress this up, down. This sole is new to, well, it's a high performance sole. Maybe we could just talk about that. And I love that it says make your path, and that is exactly what we begin our design process with, is remembering that that is one of the reasons why Livy and Luca exists, is to encourage children, to encourage their families to follow the path that is theirs. So I love that that's incorporated into the design of this well engineered sole.
Yeah, it's a great. We took a lot of inspiration from our honeycomb sole when we did that. So you'll see the honeycomb pattern and pulling in some of our brand ethos into the messaging. I also love too something that we're starting to do is the orange from our logo, that orange pop of color on the bottom of our soles. It's just really fun. Like my son he wears Livy and Luca all the time. And so when he's playing at the playground and you'll see him like swinging with his feet going up and you can see that bright orange, and it's just a fun little touch. But that outsole on there, it's a rubber outsole, which gives really good slip resistance and also really great abrasion. So it will hold up for quite a while. And like all of our shoes, we work to keep them as lightweight and flexible as possible because that's so important for little kids as they're learning how to walk and as they're growing. And it's got a nice wide toe box. It's a little bit more of a rounded toe shape than our honeycomb, but we still have that width in there that your honeycomb gets. So there's still plenty of wiggle room for the toes. It's actually, we followed a lot of the fit characteristics of honeycomb. So it provides the same sort of comfort for those little feet. And the insole's removable. And we do have our cut to size footbeds that come both in the 4 millimeter, which is our replacement, but also in the 2 millimeter, which allows for customization. So kids with wider feet could switch out to the 2 millimeter and get a little bit of extra room. Or if your child has a narrow foot, you could double up and take up some of that volume. So it's got that fit customization in there too, which is great.
Yeah.
I also, do you want to point out, Mitzi, it's hard to see on the camera, but there's that sweet whimsical stitching along the toe and on the back of that ties in with the butterfly.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just gonna say maybe we could talk about the story of, how this shoe came to be.
Yeah.
So I see this like the little swirls here, the swirls in the back.
Lots of little whimsical, magical details on this shoe. We were in Milan and we were shopping over around the Duomo, and there was this little girl that was running around who had butterflies on. And it was just like beautiful little butterfly appliques. And so when we knew we needed an ankle boot, we knew we wanted something whimsical and functional, but also magical. And so we that little girl came up in our minds, the girl with the butterflies. And so that's how Allie was born. We needed an ankle height Chelsea boot, and the butterflies became the shape for the gore and the little kind of, because the little girl was, jumping and dancing around. So the little loop-de-loops around the toe and the counter, bringing back that memory.
And many of you will notice that we do a lot of, we really are inspired by butterflies and the symbolism of, our winged friends. And so just that freedom to move, the freedom to still keep the feet safe and protected while our children are moving and dancing and exploring the world is just, it's an order that we take very seriously, and not so seriously though that we refuse to make it fun, because it's got to also be that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Allie is. She is fun, but man, does she have a lot of function packed in her as well too.
She does. Yeah. Yeah. And that's good design.
She also comes in a really beautiful taupe as well that is exclusively on our website. So you can only get the taupe on our website, but it's a vegan suede. It's a beautiful vegan suede in this really soft, beautiful taupe color. And then just a little bit of metallic top line paint. She's beautiful in that color too.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, okay, so we've talked about Allie. Maybe we could talk about Monty, who was born into this collection because we recognized that what was missing in our collection was, something that every child could wear, that was cozy to keep the feet nice and toasty, um, while being super, again, functional, high performance, and, packed with sweet little details. So, Emily, I'd love for you to just add any additional thoughts of, what excites you about Monty. What are you most proud of in this design?
Yeah, well, sometimes the simplest silhouettes are the biggest challenges. And with Monty, I mean, we just knew that we needed something, as you said, that all kids could wear and that would be so easy for parents in cold weather to just throw on with anything. So there were so many details that were thought of with that. Like we knew we wanted to use really rich suedes on that. But then we put the toe guard on to kind of protect the toe there, because that's the part that tends to get the dirtiest the quickest. And then we played with all the beautiful top stitching. And my favorite part is the little star-shaped eyelet on the side, which is just there for fun. It doesn't provide any function, but it's just fun. But this Monty is such a classic silhouette for wintertime. And so it's just those little small touches that give it a little something extra special, and the rich materials. The shearling or the fleece on the inside is so warm and cozy. You also
Yeah,
still get that.
it's delicious.
You get that fit adjustability by having that insole removable, just like we talked about with our other one, the ease of the inside zipper. And then the great thing about our honeycomb, we intentionally put that on our honeycomb because our honeycomb kind of curves up around the toe just a little bit. And so it's really great, again, for those cold fall days, protecting that upper just a little bit extra. And the height as well was very intentional.
Yeah.
Getting it just a tiny bit higher than ankle height so that it's easier to keep those pant legs tucked in. So on those days where there's a cold breeze, you keep those little legs a little bit warmer. I know with my son, when he runs, especially when he was younger and would run around, his socks would always fall down and his pants would always come up and he'd end up with this little gap that would just get really cold. And so we're
Yeah.
really intentional to make sure that you could tuck those little pants in and they'd stay.
Yeah, no, you have a good point, in terms of like boot heights. So, just so you guys can see, just that difference in height, there is, just by adding just a little more height, it really will keep the pant legs tucked in, and just that extra little coverage, super cute, and also really cute with just a pair of shorts. It's all good, but
It all depends
that
where you
makes
live.
a difference.
You're in California, you're wearing shorts, and I'm in northern Michigan right now, and we're already getting cold at night. So I've got my sweater on today, actually, because it's chilly out.
Well, let's wrap up our time today and let's talk about Neve, and all of the magic of, like, what's her story? Why is she a part of our boot collection? And let's reveal some of her magic.
Well,
Maybe we can start with the inside, can we?
we
Because
can.
that's always fun.
Mhm.
Because I
So
think her story is
her
really,
inside is really what she's one of my favorite things about her. It's what she's all about. So her inside is made with a very, very soft antimicrobial recycled microfiber lining. And it's a custom La Vie en Luca print. So you'll see these really sweet little vintage flowers, the daisies, the touches of pinks in there. But the best part is we did a co-creation workshop with kids and we had them write a story about their best day. And so we have quotes from that story intermixed in there. And I think one that's really sweet is there was a little boy who talked about the sky changing from cloudless to skyless. And so when the sky is filled with clouds, it's skyless. And when the sky is blue, it's cloudless. And so it was just such a magical way of thinking about it that
Yeah.
I never had before, but it was so true. It was like, well, that's exactly what the sky is. And so, yeah.
And what I love is that we actually captured that particular quote in this lining. And that is like we can implant those stories, those that he was like our teacher that day. We were like, yes, you are a sage here, you're right. And capturing their words and infusing their meaning into the design is so special. And I love that this also has these sweet um, little. It reminds me of like bows in the hair, and one of the things that we just find so much joy in is just discovering new ways of adding dimension. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, we always want to have a higher top boot in our collection because for little girls, it's just so fun and dressy. It also keeps the legs really warm. And the microfiber that so Neve is vegan. And the microfiber that she's made out of has a really rich velvety texture. You can actually kind of see it some in that video. And it's so beautiful on its own. But just to add that extra touch of sweetness, she's got these two really sweet little bows. And as Mitzi said, like we all kind of felt the same. Like it's like when you have your hair in the little braids, the little girl on her way to school with her wingtip shoes on and the really classic style to have those little bows. And so we just tied that kind of vintage vibe that the lining has into the exterior with these little sweet bows. And of course,
And the little bit of ruffle here, which is a classic. It's one of our classic brand
it's a heritage
brand
for us.
designs.
Yep. So this is really for those of you who are familiar with Livia and Luca and have worn our Tiempo in the past. This is the same fit as our Tiempo, just updated and vegan and with the sweet bows. So when you have something that is so functional and so sweet and fits so well, you just keep working with it to make new magic. And so that's what we did with Neve. I also love, as we talk about texture and layers, if you look really closely at the outsole, you'll see all these like little speckles of different colors. And that is reground recycled rubber. So while Neve is not part of our recycled collection, we still work those details into our entire line whenever we can. And this was just such a perfect place to plug that in on her.
Yeah, I think you hit on something, Emily, and it's not, when we have designed a silhouette that just works and is magical, um, it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel. It's, the question is, how might we make this even better? And so this updated, the use of vegan, using regrind, recycled microfiber, that is a way of acknowledging what is in design and doing our part to still create beauty and whimsy and a whole lot of joy while making our products as earth friendly, as ecological as we possibly can. So this is magic. And I also have the blue here
Yes,
too, which
the
is
navy is
gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Well, thank you, Emily. This was awesome. And it's always so amazing to connect with you, to share the stories behind each and every shoe, because every shoe is intentionally designed and with kiddos and parents in mind, and with parents and children. So it's really fun to bring that forward as we celebrate this new collection.
Yeah, we spend so much time with our parents and with our kids designing with them. So it's always fun to point out where their influence comes in and how we bring their magic that they give us to everyone else. So, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily.